The amount of our tax dollars funneled to George Soros' Open Society foundations is staggering. It turns out that USAID has been bankrolling Soros' organizations to the tune of over $250 million, $270 million over the course of the last 15 years. You and I, our tax dollars, were funding George Soros to the tune of over $250 million. According to a report by the Heritage Foundation, it was the Obama administration that more or less officially designated Soros as a main recipient of USAID monies in order to fund far-left causes around the world. Here is an example of how those funds, again, our money, were used to radically impact the geopolitical order.
One of the things that many people recognized about you was that you funded a lot of dissident activity, civil society groups in Eastern Europe, in Poland, the Czech Republic. Are you doing similar things in Ukraine?
I set up a foundation in Ukraine before Ukraine became independent of Russia. The foundation has been functioning ever since, and it played an important part in events now.
And if you thought funding regime change in Ukraine was as far as this corruption went, think again. You and I actually ended up paying in part for the Democrats' attempt at regime change here at home. According to a report by the Daily Signal, Soros' Open Society Foundations bankrolled a news organization that actually inspired the first impeachment of President Trump. A news article published by the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, a news outlet that received funds from both Soros' Open Society Foundations as well as USAID directly, was cited 4 times by the original whistleblower who came out to claim that President Trump had abused his powers by threatening to withhold military aid to Ukraine in order to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. So both USAID and Soros funds were indeed behind the first impeachment, which means, if you think it through, that you and I helped to pay for that first impeachment. Our tax dollars, through both sources, USAID and the Open Society Foundations, were basically used to frame President Trump. It's beyond insane. And unfortunately, it gets worse. Remember the BLM riots in the summer of 2020? Yep, Soros. USAID gave nearly $25 million to the Tide Center, a Soros-funded group, which in turn funneled millions to BLM in 2020, all as they were burning down our cities across the country. Again, we were paying for all of that. And of course, as you guessed it, it gets worse. Soros was given hundreds of millions of dollars of our tax money to not just fund ultra-left-wing causes around the world, regime change causes and the like, but of course, bankroll radical Democrats here at home. Democrats made sure Soros' foundations were flooded with cash to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, and then those foundations in turn funneled money back into the coffers of Democrats, and not just Democrats, but some of the most radical far-left candidates in the nation. Well, now, thankfully, because of what you did on November the 5th, Soros' gravy train is finally coming to a decisive end, and he's openly panicking about it. Wait until you see the depths of his despair. It is going to absolutely make your day. But first, speaking of all of this corruption, do you ever wonder how people like Nancy Pelosi seem to know exactly when to buy certain stocks? How politicians seem to have secret knowledge of what's going on and what's going to do well in the market? Well, it's all insider trading. Pelosi and her cronies have been getting away with it for years now. But guess what? You and I actually have access to that very same inside information. Thanks to a little SEC loophole, we can track what the big corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we can just ride their coattails into financial success perfectly legally and ethically. Once you learn this secret of the trade, you're in. Now, to do that, you have got to join me along with my good friend and trading expert, Ross Givens, this Thursday, February 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Ross is the real deal. His insider tips have led to returns of over 200%. Some have hit as high as nearly 1,500%. It's going to be absolutely huge, but seating is limited to the first 1,000 signups. So click that link below right now and snag one of the remaining seats. This is going to change your life, gang. You can't afford to miss this. Click on that link below right now. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban just sent out this tweet, quote, "Warning, our fears have come true. The globalist liberal Soros NGO network is fleeing to Brussels after President Trump dealt a huge blow to their activities in the United States. Now, 63 of those NGOs are asking Brussels for money under the guise of various human rights projects. Not going to happen. We will not let them find safe haven in Europe. The USAID files expose the dark practices of the globalist network. We will not take their bait again." Now, Prime Minister Orban linked an International Court of Jurists article, which is a proxy for Soros. He linked their panicked online appeal to the European Union to make up for the massive loss in funds due to President Trump's order to freeze all foreign aid, particularly in the form of USAID. Now, the NGOs, these open society foundations, are claiming that they're already having to suspend a number of operations around the world, and that without continuing funding coming now from Brussels, from the EU, their work to spread democracy and human rights around the world will be permanently imperiled, yada, 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 yada. Now, this panic is very real, and it's a bit ironic. I'll show you why. The panic is real because it comes on the heels of a recent announcement that the Open Society Foundations were cutting almost half of their global workforce. This is months before Trump and Elon started getting into the inner workings of USAID. In an emailed statement several months back, the organization did indeed confirm that they've made the difficult decision to reduce their workforce by at least 40%. And then, add insult to injury, they made the announcement that Soros' Open Society Foundations were actually having to leave Europe altogether. So that's the ironic part in all of this. Back in August of 2023, Soros' Open Society Foundations announced that they were significantly reducing all operations throughout the European Union. So, again, it's indeed rather ironic that they're coming groveling back to the EU asking for money now that their piggy bank here in the United States has been permanently taken away. Again, what's so key here is that Soros' foundations are losing their money at the very same time that more and more nations are shutting their doors to the Open Society Foundations. I mean, they're getting basically banned all over the place. The BJP, the ruling party in India, they want nothing to do with Soros. In fact, their foreign minister, Subramanyam Jaishankar, recently referred to Soros as extremely dangerous precisely because he funds the overthrowing of duly elected governments around the world that he doesn't like. So make sure you get that. India, a nation that represents 1/5 of the world's population, is rejecting Soros and his coveted New World Order, as is China, another nation that represents 1/5 of the world, as is Russia, and of course, as is his own home country of Hungary. He's basically been banned from Hungary by Prime Minister Orban. When all is said and done, Soros's empire really does appear to be going the way of the dodo bird. It's collapsing in real time, right before our very eyes. And it's collapsing because Trump and Elon Musk, remember, Elon Musk has repeatedly said that Soros hates humanity. Elon Musk has no love for George Soros. Both Trump and Elon have identified what appears to be the Achilles heel of the Soros' empire. It's the fact that his organizations have been basically sucking at the public teat for decades now. Trump and Elon have everyone talks about Soros is a billionaire and he funds all these. No, he doesn't fund jack. He doesn't fund jack. Whatever billions he had, I guess he wasted that years ago on all this stuff. No, it's governments that are funding his organization. And Trump and Elon have discovered and exposed the government-centered money laundering operation that the Democrats and Soros have been involved in for decades now. Democrats funnel hundreds of millions of taxpayer monies to Soros to fund all kinds of left-wing causes, regime change operations around the world, all as Soros then funnels money back to the Democrats' own coffers, usually in the guise of these radical far-left DAs in cities around the nation. And by the way, even that's falling apart. Have you seen back in November when you elected President Trump and changed the world? Back in November, radically progressive district attorneys backed by Soros lost almost half of their races, 13 of the top 25 DA races across the nation, even in some of the deepest blue strongholds. And that's all part of an ongoing trend. In the last 2 years, of the roughly 75 Soros-linked DAs across the country, over 30 have left office and 20 have been replaced by far more conservative law and order prosecutors. So whether it's here in the United States or in Europe or around the world, Soros's empire is crumbling. As a new civilizationalist world rises, the very world that his Open Society foundations did everything they possibly could to stop, that world, that conservative civilizationalist world, as it rises, Soros's world is coming to an end. His time is now finished. Ours is just beginning. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here. Hey there, Dr. Steve here, and I got a question for you. What if you could go back in time and get in on the Bitcoin era when it was still just under $1? Or buy a prime real estate before the market exploded, say, in Manhattan? Or invest in a company like Tesla before the whole world caught on? Well, that's exactly where we are right now. The parallel economy is exploding like never before. New financial opportunities are opening up, and those who see the shift and take action early are the ones who will prosper the most. That's why I'm hosting a live 90-minute event on February 27th called the America's Golden Age Summit. Now, I'll be joined by some amazing expert guests who are going to show you how to position yourself for massive success in this new era. But even better, what exactly to do in this new era. It's a truly one-of-a-kind, game-changing event. Click the link, grab your spot, and be a part of America's Golden Age Summit. Do not miss this chance to get ahead. I can't wait to see you there.